my very first concert I ever went to was Judas Priest, and it was 1984 here in Philadelphia on the Defenders of the Faith tour.
Right.
Changed my life.
That's cool. Would that be Defenders of the Faith tour, maybe?
It was. It really was, yes.
Yeah, that was a great stage set. Yeah, that was a great tour, to be fair.
I was 14 years old at the time, and I gotta be honest, like I was scared. I didn't know what to expect going to see my first concert. And it really was, and I'm sure it happens for most kids at that young age when they go to that concert. It's truly a life-changing moment.
It does happen. I think everybody must go through it, Maybe for some people it might be something else, whatever that might be. But I think for so many people, it's one concert or another that just blows people away. And people think, wow, it stays with them, and it's hard to get to sleep that night, right?
Yeah, especially at that time with MTV and all. You're seeing it on TV, it's one thing, but to finally get to experience it live, it's just a completely another animal. Yeah.
It's like I say, it certainly happened to me at the Hendrix concerts. I was kind of transformed. I was kind of trans everything after that, I think, really,
Yeah, I was as I was going through your book and seeing how Jimi Hendrix was that huge influence on you that really kind of made you pick up the guitar, and it made me think, like, in all your years of touring, was there any other guitar players that you might have toured with that like really left an impression on you that you would actually like take time to go and watch?
Yeah, not as much as Hendrix did, because I'll say it was so early on, wasn't it? Around about 67, something like that. Like you say, once you've had that initial experience that just like totally rocks your head off.
Yeah.
It's hard to experience it again. It's just something kind of magical that happens.
Sure. And it's rare for a magical person to come onto the scene like Hendrix. So to be able to experience that and try to find somebody else to live up to that, it's kind of hard.
Yeah. Because I do tell the story. I think I was lucky to see him a few times, earlier on. When I say early, Hendrix, unfortunately, we had a very short window with him. Just a few years, really. But the first couple of years when I was seeing him, he was kind of, I think, unaffected by the business and anything else that might have been going on in his life, I think, towards the end, and I think it's fairly well documented that he did have some problems with management and felt kind of threatened and, and did various things. And it does, obviously, but when I saw him, he was obviously there. He was out to kill, out to impress, and he was, and everyone in England went to see him. Clapton went to see him, Pete Townsend went to see him, so he was, I do think that he was kind of unaffected and total free spirit and certainly at his best.
Yeah, absolutely. And didn't you get a chance to meet him? Am I?
Well, I wouldn't call it meeting, but I did a couple of times. Yeah. One was at the Royal Albert Hall, where he played 2 shows there. So I was outside the back door, and there was only a couple of people there, really. And I got to say, "Hi, Jimmy, can I get your autograph?" I had this nice poster for him to sign and that, and I didn't have the balls to say too much more, really. And the other time was at the Isle of Wight. I managed to find out his dressing room, which was like an English-style caravan. And I was able to lift up the windows, and all the band and a couple of girls were sitting around a table just before he went on. And I managed to get a Coca-Cola bottle off Jimmy that he'd just finished drinking, and a drumstick from Mitch.
Oh wow!
And so, you know, I was kind of I couldn't really speak. I'd got my head stuck through this little window that lifted up, you know, kind of vertically. But at some point I must have overstayed my welcome and the window had to come down, but those guys had to go on stage.
You know, it's funny, like you tell that story, and then I've been listening to I've been listening to the audiobook of your book, and I was just up to the point earlier where you guys were doing I think it was a record store signing, and a woman wanted you guys to sign her newborn twins.
Yes, it's true. It's true. She turned around and picked these babies up. They were absolutely tiny. She turned around and put them straight smack back in front of us. And she wanted us to sign them, you know, on their skin. And I'm saying, no, we can't do that. You know, we could sign the clothes, sign the baby's clothes. But yeah, I've signed a lot of things in my life, but that was pretty unique, really.
Do you think that was definitely the weirdest thing that somebody asked you to sign?
It was really. I mean, they must have been like a week old or something, you know. It was like, wow. It was pretty scary, you know.
Oh. I can only imagine the things that you guys witnessed on the road over the years. Yeah,
it takes a fair bit to make us go, you know. Me, Glenn, and Rob. It would take a fair few things, you know. We like I said, we've signed an awful lot of things in our life, you know. But that was pretty different.
Now, speaking of the audiobook, I was actually kind of surprised you had Maxwell Caulfield did the actual reading of the book. Did you pick him, or did you have any say in that, or?
I did. Now, the thing is, they sent me over 5 guys, I think. And they sent me 5 guys, and the guy I chose was the best out of the guys. That's all I can say. And this, you know, what he was reading, you know, which wasn't very long, you know, was all I had to go on.
Sure.
But you know, does he do a good job in there, babe? Is he good or not?
Absolutely. I was just taken back initially. Like, I was like, wow, Maxwell Caulfield. And I mean, originally I think of Grease 2 with him, but the big one I think of is, you know, the whole Rex Manning from Empire Records, which is one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, I don't know him. I had no idea who he was. They gave me I think they gave me the name. But I was all, you know, I mean, I didn't know. I just thought they were people that did this sort of thing.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny, because when I started listening to it the other day, I actually like stopped and I looked at my wife and I'm like, guess who's doing the reading of this? And she just looked at me and I said, Maxwell Caulfield, and her face just kind of like scrunched up, like, really? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the reason I chose him because it was. Out of all the guys, he was, from what I heard anyway, I think he had the most talent for it. Out of the 5 guys, I think he was the most talented reader. That's what I think. And he didn't have any particular twang to his accent, where a couple of the other guys, I could hear a little bit of Aussie, Australian in them, and another guy I could hear a little bit of Merseyside, Liverpool, you know. And I hope I made the right choice. I hope I did.
I definitely think you did.
I was quite impressed because he had the best ability, and it showed even in the snippet that I had, you know. So I know I picked the best out of the 5 snippets, you know, what I got to listen to. I know that for a fact, you know. The only thing is my voice is different to his voice, but everybody's is, you know. I thought we could be looking forever and a day, but, certainly a talented reader, is what I thought. And I will have to get a copy of the audio just to see, and I hope I'm pleased with what I hear.
Did you think about doing it at all yourself, or you?
Yeah, I did. But it would have took me forever, really. You know, I mean, it's not the easiest thing to do, is it? Really, you know. I mean, the one thing Max did, because they only got one stab at reading and recording that, you know. They went in the studio and they had to do it on the fly.
Right.
And so Max was able to, at one point, he was reading and he laughed a little bit, you know, a little bit of laughter, you know. So to preempt that, it's kind of difficult, you know.
Sure.
And it was good. It was good. I hope it's good. You enjoying it?
I am.
It's okay. Good.
Absolutely. Does it shock you at all, the reaction it's been getting? I mean, like, you're the headline every day. There's a new headline of you on like Blabbermouth.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so yeah, but it's getting. I'm immensely busy. I've been going today from 2 p.m. and I finish. My last call is at 8 o'clock when I finish speaking to you. You know, so. I'll probably have my slippers and pipe and dressing gown on by then.
Now, are you still, like, do you still pick up the guitar a lot? Are you still playing? Do you still write music at all, or?
Yeah, I've got a little Marshall amp for the Flying V in my office. I'm looking at it now. I'll pick it up now and again, but I do some stuff. You know, I play some solos and stuff, but I don't. It's difficult for me to have time because I'm always doing things. And now this book's happening, you know, because on a global scale, I'll speak to people from New Zealand, Bogota. I spoke to people in Colombia, radio station, a couple of days ago. I speak to, obviously, Spain, Czech Republic. I did yesterday. I did a book signing in Nottingham yesterday. I did an interview with the Czech Republic in the car at the train station before I got on the train yesterday. You know, so I'm speaking to Norway, obviously Finland. So at the moment, apart from the US, Canada, and those territories, South America, we've got the UK, Finland, Bulgaria, Germany. I'm trying to think where else now is actually releasing the book, but I think a lot more people will come on board, you know, with the success that it's been,
Sure.
you know, which is good.
Has it really kind of opened your eyes to, like, the you know, the what you've left over the years with all these people around the world? Is it kind of like, wow, like, okay, I really left an impression with everybody?
Yeah, I think it's good, and I think what's happening as well, Bay, is the fact that I think that I speak to a lot of people, and time's moving on. We're all getting older, and lots of people have an appreciation for, you know, obviously the concerts they've seen and the albums that they bought, and that association, really, you know, that we have as having been on a journey together, really. Mm-hmm. And I think there is an awareness that time's moving on. It's not particularly on anybody's side. I'm going to be 67 in a month's time, you know, so getting up there. Glenn's going to be 71 this month. We're just a couple of days away. Our birthdays apart, and Rob's also 67, just gone. Ian's going to be 67 in January. So obviously we're losing quite a few people along the way, which is unfortunate. It's a shame, but you know, at some point, you know, the experience that we all had, you know, from the late 60s onwards, the 70s, the 80s, you know, the 90s up until now, I think that, is it fair to say that in the last decade or so, or maybe a bit more, really, things have changed, you know? I mean, metal started to change, didn't it, really, from what we know as classic metal. It started to change sometime in the 90s, really, where it got a bit more heavier and a bit more diverse with all the genres of metal, black metal, death metal, or whatever metal,
right.
you know. And since then, it's not become everybody's cup of tea, really. And I suppose I have to admit myself, you know, I'm just enjoying listening to Dokken again. They've just got back together after 20 years. I'm enjoying their shows on YouTube. Really good. So, you know, I tend to, you know, listen to a lot of, and I put time, you know, I mean, Doro's just released a new album, Saxon, Udo, Accept, bands like that still keep flying the flag for what we know as classic metal. So, you know, I try to listen to that. But is it? It's hard to keep reinventing the wheel, I guess, isn't it? Really. So, don't know exactly. You know, as opposed to, let's say, the 80s, where every week a new superstar band would be born, wouldn't it? Whether it was Great White, or whether it was Guns N' Roses, or whether it was, you know, Metallica, or, I mean, whoever it was, you know, it was somebody every week. Somebody seemed to be coming to the forefront, and it was great times, you know, and there was a feel-good factor in the music industry with everything that was thriving. Obviously, MTV was about, you know, it was good, loads of fun.
Absolutely.
And loads of bands could make loads of funny and sexy girl videos, you know, with great songs, whoever it was.
Do you think like the music business side of it has also, like, I know there was, you know, you just weren't happy overall when you decided to leave Judas Priest, but do you think the music business side of it too as well was part of it as well, or was it just more with the situation within the band?
I think it was. I think, because the thing is, we as Judas Priest, unlike a lot of less fortunate bands, we kind of were on terra firma, really, because we had done what we'd done, and we were kind of, you know, reached a certain level and standard, you know, that I think that there would always be an audience and a marketplace for Judas Priest. So that was okay. That was okay. It was just the shine had gone somewhat. You know, it became more of a chore to be out on the roads. You know, it wasn't. You know, there wasn't 100 girls lined up outside backstage waiting for the band bus to arrive. You know, which had. You know, it was. It had all kind of changed a little bit. You know, but. Nothing really mattered as long as we really enjoyed playing and performing, and that wasn't really happening for me also. You know, I was doing my best and playing my part, you know, but, you know, I looked around and it just seemed like the shine had come off, you know, the band's performance, you know, going through the motions a bit, really, you know, and I kind of missed Priest being the forceful energy that it always had been, you know. I mean, my saying was, you know, guys, the older we get, the younger we've got to play.
Right.
And I don't think we're always like teamed up with the right packaging, support bands and stuff all the time. And I think generally mistakes were being made, and I don't think it was being looked after properly, really.
Did you do like listen to the new album that they put out earlier this year, Firepower? Have you listened to any of the music that was made after you left, or? Yeah,
I've listened to some of it, you know. I think the thing is, as I said before, you know, keeping up the standard and everything, even with the big guns helping in the studio, you know, with not one producer but two, you know, excellent guys, you know. It's still hard to come up with songs that you could say would be, you know, you can listen to an album in its entirety, but I always think, I'm always listening, which song is the one song that is going to be that classic Judas Priest song,
right? You
know, off this album. Isolate that one song out, give it to me, you know, and what's the song about? What's the message to me? You know, Is it Victim of Change? Is it Breaking the Law? Is it Blood Red Skies? Is it Beyond the Realms of Death? You know, it's which is the song that's going to stay there forever.
Right.
And it's hard because I know when the guys came out with the album before, Redeemer of Souls, you know, it was this and it was that and it's this and it's great and the fans loved it. But I stand corrected, bro. I don't think the band's playing any songs at all from that album on tour.
I'm not sure on that.
I don't think that they are, but you know, but I think the main thing is they don't completely sound like a Judas Priest album. Can I say that? Can I say that?
Sure.
Well, I just did because some kind of don't know, lots of kind of. I could be completely wrong, but maybe it's just me. You know, but then again, if you pull in different writers, you know, etc., then for the album, then it's going to sound different if you change the writing team, surely.
Right.
We've all been to that restaurant and the head chef's on his night off.
Right.
It's not the same, is it?
This is true.
Can it be the same?
No, not at all. It's completely different.
Everybody, we do it differently, but, you know, I think the guys did well to do what they did, you know, to come up with an album. It's tough to keep coming up with the goods, I guess, after all of this time.
Sure. Now, going back to the book, some of the things that really stood out to me, one of the things was that when you were talking about when Rob came on board, and you kind of compared it to you really needed to step things up, and really it was more of like a motivational factor for you. It sounded like where you wanted to make sure you kept Rob with the band and you didn't want to lose him, kind of like Trapeze did with
Glenn Hughes, yeah.
Yeah, to Deep Purple. And I don't think I ever heard anybody say that in an interview before, and it kind of like, I was like, wow, like that was just really eye-opening. Yeah,
because Rob Halford, you know, there's not many people on the planet that can do what he does, you know, singers. I mean, Ralph Shapers, obviously the German guy from Gamma Ray, he's got a hell of a vocal range and delivery. Ripper Owens, the same sort of thing. You know, there's some other singers out there, but they don't have the texture and the strength and the delivery. They might have the range, but some of the guys, the size of the vocals seems to shrink down a little bit, but I'll probably miss some good guys out. But, you know, there's not many people that could step in. We found that out when we were looking for another singer to replace Rob.
Sure.
I mean, it took us a long time to find somebody that could get close, really, you know. So it was pretty tough to do. So he's pretty unique. So all those years way back then, you know, yeah, I mean, you know, the same thing could have happened to us. You know, Deep Purple could have, if it had been a bit, you know, if the timing would have been a bit different, you know, they could have come to Rob, you know. Anything could have happened, really.
Sure.
So I knew that I had to create a good strength of support behind, you know, to back, you know, with Rob really as a front man and singer. And that's why I thought having two lead guitar players in a band, one, it's different. Two, I can deliver up what I want to deliver up, which is, you know, two, you know, not, most bands had a rhythm player and a lead player, you know, but I'm thinking lead players, they can play lead, they can certainly play rhythm, and usually they can write some songs as well. So that was fortifying the band, you know, and it was, and it did. So that was a good move. And I was pretty excited by it to see what we could actually do with the twin guitar attack, and that's what it became known as, really.
Sure.
And then it became the mainstay eventually of rock and metal, as we know it today.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you had mentioned about when on the search to replace Rob when Rob left, and then you guys finally found Tim. Did you guys think at any point during those? I mean, if I'm not mistaken, it didn't take a few years for you guys to find Tim. Did you guys think at any moment or any time maybe we should just pack it in?
I think the story goes, because I tell in the book that I actually wrote a leaving letter at the same time as Rob left. But I didn't deliver it up. I sat on it for a while,
okay.
And then, I didn't, before I had a chance to deliver it, if I was gonna, Rob announced that he was leaving, so I just let everything just lay there,
Sure.
And then Glenn suddenly, bit of one-upmanship, whatever it was, oh yeah, I'm going to do a solo album as well. I'm thinking, okay, I'll let all this settle down, see if Rob comes back, let Glenn do his solo thing, if that's what he's going to do. I'll kind of have sit back and take stock and see what happens next. And then some years went by, waiting for Rob didn't come back. Glenn went on forever doing his records with other artists,
Right.
And then when Glenn had finished that, the serious look for a new singer was put into effect. And by that time, I'm thinking, well, you know what? I've sat on a byline for quite a while. I've got some energy. Heard Ripper, heard his vocals, thinking, God, that guy's very, very good, seriously good. And decided to give it a go, really. And a lot of it was really, because Rob had said a lot of things, that were unfair, really, like things like Priest weren't heavy enough for him and all of that.
Right.
So I'm thinking a lot of it was right, well, okay, we'll show Rob what it's all about. And I think we did that in fine style, to be fair, compared to what he was putting out.
Yeah, it was. It kind of sounds like it was almost not a war, but I guess kind of a war of music versus music in your eyes.
Yeah, it was really. Rob even called his album War of Words, and there was a war of words, a lot of war of words. A lot of it was a good read. Some of it was pretty funny, I've got to say. Some of it was funny. We had to laugh. Some of them name calling because the gloves were off, if you know what I mean.
Sure.
All the gloves were on, whichever way around it is. So it was it was fun. So it was kind of okay. Rob will be seriously jealous when he sees Ripper because one, he'll probably two. Did I say that? he's going to think, fuck, that guy can really sing as good as I can, So it was fun. There were some fun times to be had.
Oh, that's fun.
Making the best of it, so to speak. I can laugh. It was serious, really, because we had a fan base out there, and we had to do what we thought was acceptable.
Sure. Now, how about like when the Screaming for Vengeance album really started to break? How quick did things change, and did you think oh, here comes the ride? It's really going to get wild now.
When Screaming for Vengeance broke, yeah. Sorry, babe. Then you said it's all right. I'll just sorry, babe. Going back to Screaming for Vengeance, yeah. We made the record. It was full pelt. It was our most successful record ever. The timing was just right. And what else did you say?
When it broke, did you think to yourself oh, this is going to get a wild ride right now?
yeah, it was great because I think that as much as we had done to try to get our beloved music accepted by the masses, it wasn't really until Screaming for Vengeance came along we thought, well, you know what, this has pretty much done it. This has pretty much achieved what we wanted to do to get, a fully fledged metal band on the radio in this kind of, to this extent, is pretty successful, really, to be fair.
Right. Now, how about I don't think you actually really covered it too much in the book, from what I've heard so far, but Live Aid, when you guys were asked to play Live Aid, were you guys kind of shocked at that, or?
No. Somebody said, look, this big, potentially a big charity thing. It's called Live Aid. It's in a good cause. We were told we were the fifth band to accept that. That's what they told me.
Oh, wow.
And then what was really cool was to see that, because it just kind of snowballed and snowballed and snowballed. And it was great. I feel proper good about accepting it very, very early on to do it,
Sure.
Because obviously once, I don't think the names were particularly big or suited to the rock and metal genre, really.
Right.
The names of the guys that had already accepted. So when Priest did, obviously, that helped a lot. And then when other bands accepted it, it just something like that, can happen. It was quite magical. Everybody gave their time up, and whatever the cost was, we flew in from. We were only in the Bahamas, so it wasn't, it wasn't a big journey for us. But everything was at our expense, and we were happy to do it, delighted to do it, and delighted to be a part of it.
Yeah, that was one of them magical moments again.
It really was, It was probably something we'll never see again, but, and the bands, it was just amazing. I woke up in the hotel, obviously in Philly in the morning, put the television on, and I'm thinking, fuck, I think, who was on? Was it Status Quo, maybe, in the UK, so I'm thinking, Jesus, I'm playing this show today, because it was on both sides of the Atlantic,
Sure.
So it was all a vibe. The whole thing was a vibe, and guys flying in after they'd done that show. We were all in the hotel. It was mad, We were all arriving en masse, and nobody got past the reception area, because we'd be there checking in, and Sabbath would come in, and we start talking, and then somebody else comes in, and nobody got to the rooms, really. It just started to fill up. It was good fun.
Now, one thing you really did touch on in the book, and I remember thinking this myself, was the whole era when you guys did the Turbo album, and you kind of changed the musical direction with the guitar synths and stuff like that. Were you scared, that you would end up pissing off a lot of the longtime Judas Priest fans?
No, I didn't really think about it. We were just, right about that time, everything was at a peak, I think, really, in rock and metal and all of the bands, so many bands were successful right there and then, so many of them. It was a great time, such a good feel factor. MTV was in full flight, playing everybody, really. It was good. And we thought that, there and then in America, there would be an acceptability, again, for us to push whatever boundaries we felt like pushing. And we did the tour, we did the album, and it was really quite successful,
Right.
It's true, there was a lot more girls, but I think that was kind of the sign of the times. Girls felt a lot safer and a lot more, going to concerts and stuff, and it was good. It was, we were just out there to do as good as we could possibly do at the time, really. Bearing in mind that we'd actually written for a double album, but we kind of thinned the songs out to really produce an album that had a good flow and continuity,
right?
As opposed to being an eclectic mix, and like quite a few of our records had that.
Well, that makes me kind of think too of the whole, because it was just, was it this year? I think the 30th anniversary of the Turbo came out.
I think so. Yeah.
Do they consult you on any of that stuff, like packaging?
No.
Wow.
No, which is kind of a bit of a bone of contention. Okay, I might have walked, but I'm still an integral part of the organisation and still a director of, Judas Priest Music Limited.
Right.
So I'm still, but they're trying to kind of obviously alienate me in every way that they possibly can. It's one of those things. I guess I'm the black sheep now. But really, from a business standpoint, I have a right, and I think all bands do that make it so far, to protect and oversee, because it's not going to be all that long before none of us are up there.
Sure.
So we need to decide what is going to happen. We can't just hand over. I mean, it's like anything else. If you worked for, if you built up Wrigley's or Hershey's, or I'm just thinking of people, or a business,
yeah.
All your life, you've got investment in that brand.
Right.
You've got a vested interest in that brand because you built it and you own it. The brand name, and then there's a great value there, isn't there?
Absolutely.
So that's the bone of contention that's going on really at the moment, is the fact that, okay, if you're not going to take the opportunity to research, if I'm able to and willing to step back in, then you need to do whatever needs to be done, out of courtesy in respect of the business. But anyway, that's all for lawyers and accountants to sort out, I guess.
But on a personal level, I mean, with that situation where you weren't asked to come back in, or where they don't consult you on these 30th anniversaries of these albums and the repackaging and stuff, like, is it I mean, there's got to be a lot of hurt there personally. I mean, you guys went through so much.
Yeah, because it is what it is, I tried to speak to the band's accountants saying, look, this makes sense to do this, even though I'm not in the band. Anything could happen at any time. Other people could find themselves in the same situation. We need to protect, a la probably something like Kiss would do to protect the business and to make sure that the standards of production that with the Judas Priest brand on is kept to where it should be.
Right.
And not let it fall away or, fall into hands of that might create some kind of ill repute or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess it's been quite a few years then since you've talked to any of the guys then.
Yeah, it's been a bit. Actually, I was at Rob's mom's funeral last year.
Okay.
I think it was, not too long, over a year ago. And his dad's funeral before that. It's just all got a bit funky, really. I made a press release from the heart, and I thought I was doing everybody a favour by saying, what credentials Andy Sneap had. All-round credentials, great credentials, I thought that would be a benefit, really, for the fans to know that I would, obviously at least condone his abilities, to
right.
be able to go out there. But they maintain I was insinuating that Glenn didn't play on the record, and that was not what I said, or what I meant. So I think that if they hadn't have said anything, nothing would have happened. That's what I think. Don't think anybody else would have, come up with it. But they made a big hoo-ha out of it, so it ain't all got a bit ugly, as things do.
Right. Now, do you think, say if they did turn around and before they talked to Andy or, went through probably like an audition process, if they came to you and you agreed, do you think, because it sounded like you really weren't happy with, like you said earlier on, you weren't happy with the touring and the way things are being run and just the overall situation. Do you think you would end up being happy back in there?
I think that this is it. I go back in and I'm saying, okay, guys, let's turn the clock back a couple of decades. Let's go back to where we were. Let's have the equality, the level playing field, the democracy, and everything.
Right.
That needs to be in situ because being in a band, that's it. You're a team player. End of story. Ego's out the window. The pecking order has to go. And obviously. If Glenn's not playing, that alleviates the fact that my nervousness on stage, because Glenn liked a few beers, and he had a right to do it his way, I had a right to do it my way, something had to give. But obviously, if the guys would have said, look, KK, Glenn's not there now, you're not there, we've got to take the best Priest out that we possibly can for the fans, we want you back in. Mate, come and get it sorted. Then, under those terms, it would have all made a lot of sense.
Right.
So Richie steps over to where Glenn was, and I resume my normal, and it would have been an acceptable, understandable, given Glenn's unfortunate, condition.
Right.
It would have been as good as we can do. And to be honest, I think me and Richie would have made a pretty dynamic, because I would have made sure that the firepower wasn't just on the damn record; it would have been on the stage as well.
Right.
That's what needed to happen. Because people expected that energy from Priest. They would expect it. As opposed to it just being, doesn't look right or feel right as it is at the moment. But obviously the guys are still going to put on a great show, great songs, but if they like it the way that it is, what can I say? I got fed up of mistakes being made really along the way, and that's why.
What if but what if they came with right now with Kiss, Kiss just announced the end of the road tour. They're going to go on this big farewell 3-year-long world tour. What if next year after they I don't know if they are planning the tour already for next year or not, but what if they turn around and say, hey Ken, look, let's we're thinking about doing a farewell tour. Would you come back on board, be part of the farewell tour? But they want to keep Richie and Andy in place and have 3 guitarists. Would you be interested in something like that?
No.
No?
No, I don't think it's synonymous with what Priest do. It's a twin guitar affair, and that's all that's needed and required. There would be some redundancy, I think, really, for a third player.
Right.
I'm a lead player, Richie's a lead player, Glenn's a lead player, Andy, as good as he is. I think Kevin used to play most of the stuff in his band Hell, but, you see, I like Andy, and I consider him a friend, and I've been up to his studio, and I've worked with him with younger bands up there, and I know how good he is. He's a great all-round guy, but his love and passion really is, by and large, in the production area, and
right.
Obviously he's a massive fan of Priest, and I wish him well, and I wish them all well, something could happen to me where I'm not able to do it anymore, then it isn't an option, is it,
Right.
I mean, they're talking about a 50th anniversary, but I was in the band in 1969. Rob wasn't, all Glenn. And they weren't there in 1970 or 71 either. Or 72 for that matter. I'm trying to think if I got my dates right. So Ian was there, bless him. Ian was there. So, we'll have to see.
Absolutely.
It could be, I don't know, a good 50th anniversary would be Rob, me, Ripper, Ian, Scott, Les Bings, Glenn, and everybody that did actually play. Now, that would be some kind of tour to go and see, maybe.
Sure, absolutely. So, how about even that? Like, so you would want Ripper to be part of this too, if there was a farewell tour?
Well, yeah, because the thing is, it would be a 50th anniversary, and probably how much longer is this going to go on? But it's the last opportunity for fans to see not what they're getting now, but to see everybody.
Right.
Unfortunately, we can't have Dave Holland, but everybody else that played in Judas Priest to have an opportunity to. I'm not saying everybody's on stage at the same time.
Yeah.
But you have people come on, play various songs for various people.
Sure.
It's just something that people like me think of. Really. That's not me being all the spoils, but it's just
to celebrate.
Just an idea.
Yeah.
Just an idea that I had.
To celebrate all the the years and the music and the lineups.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Take people on a journey, on a Judas Priest journey.
Yeah. Now, how about Dave Holland? Did you remain in contact with Dave over the years, or?
I didn't know, because we were busy doing our thing, and I don't know what Dave, we were just busy continuing making records and making music as best we could,
Gotcha.
So we kind of drifted apart,
Gotcha. Now, how about looking back? Is there like one song you can say you're most proud of, or one album that you can say is definitely like the defining moment for you?
Not really. It's hard to pin it down to one song, But if I had to sum it all up, the whole thing, the whole journey, probably Victim of Changes would probably jump out, because it was there at the very beginning when I was probably, when did I start working on that? I was probably 18, 19 years old. So, yeah, just quickly touching on Dave before this next call comes in. Just quickly on Dave Holland, I do regret, actually, that we didn't get together and have a beer, because you always think things and people are going to go on forever, don't you,
Sure.
It isn't one great regret, really, but you always think it's going to happen, you're going to run into people, things are going to happen, but unfortunately not to be, sadly.
Yeah.
But it is what it is.
Yeah.
But
well, I want to thank you for doing this, and congratulations on the success of the book. It's amazing. It really is. I'm glad I got the opportunity to talk to you.
Well, yeah, thank you. It's always great to obviously have the opportunity to speak to people in cities, obviously like Philly. It's, in a great city, great rock city, a lot of cherished memories. So please give my love to all of the fans and tell them, I hope to see them again one day.
Absolutely. And you know what? I'll take Dave Holland's beer if you come back to Philly. I'll drink that beer with you.
It's a done deal, buddy. Yeah, for sure.
Can I get you to cut a quick ID for me before you go?
Yeah, go for it.
This is KK Downing, and you're listening to Totally Driven Radio.
Totally Driven Radio. Hi, everyone. This is KK Downing, formerly of Judas Priest, and you're listening to Totally Driven Radio. So crank it up. Don't be shy.
Awesome. Thanks so much, KK. Take care.
Hey, thanks, Bay. Cheers, mate. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.